the Waterville Planning Board meeting. We have a couple of things before we get to the, I guess, official agenda. First, I want to welcome Ben Grant. He's joining us on the Planning Board. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Second thing is we need to elect a chair of the Planning Board now that Sam is no longer with us. So if anyone wants to make any nominations, now would be the time to do so.
Well, I'll nominate Dave Johnson if that works for Dave Johnson.
I happily accept that nomination. Need a second, I
I'll
believe.
second it.
Are there any other nominations? Okay. All those in favor of David Johnson being chair of the Planning Board? Thank you very much. I have big shoes to fill. And I was reading through the ordinance for the Planning Board, and we are also supposed to elect a secretary, which I don't think we ever have, or at least not since I've been here. So, sorry, Tom, but I nominate Tom Dupree to be secretary of the Planning Board, which I think Ann does most of that work. But
I'll second that.
are there any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, John.
And now we can move on to the agenda items. Number one is approval of the minutes of the December 9th Planning Board meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Great.
I'll second.
All those in favor? All right. Second item would be disclosure of conflict of interest. If anybody has anything to disclose of the items today that we're going to be discussing, not hearing anything. Great. Dan, you're up. Number 3. This is a request for recommendations concerning revisions to the zoning ordinance that covers variances. This is to improve residential accessibility for persons with disabilities.
Yep, you said it. So currently our zoning ordinance is written so that if someone wanted to install something like a wheelchair ramp and there was a setback issue, that person would have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to apply for a variance. That can be quite a lengthy process. It involves filing an application with the Code Enforcement Office, scheduling a public hearing within 45 days, 2 notices in the newspaper, with the first not less than 14 days, and that the person attend the hearing, which can be an issue if that person has a disability or that person has to be represented by someone. It can be costly too. It's a couple $100 probably total once you get the meeting fee in there and the advertisement. So Bill Lee had turned me on to this statute, MRS 4335-A, that enables a municipality by ordinance to authorize a code enforcement officer to issue a permit to an owner of a dwelling for the purpose of making a dwelling accessible to a person with a disability who resides in or regularly uses the dwelling unit if the permit requires a variance. So I am just making a recommendation that we make that change in our ordinance so that people are able to access their homes in a safe and timely fashion. And if there was a situation that arose, like a front setback, we would also coordinate with Public Works to make sure that there were no issues with snow clearing or rights of way or anything like that.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments from anyone on the board? No. Ann, thank you for typing this up. I did get a chance to read it. All seems pretty straightforward. I'll just ask if there's anybody in the public that wants to say anything about this. Not seeing anything. So this is us making a recommendation to City Council for them to vote on. So I would entertain a motion to recommend these revisions as Ann has written them up.
I'll make the motion to.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Great. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you.
And item number 4, and the person who did make this request unfortunately had a personal emergency and isn't able to make it tonight, but we're still going to be discussing it because there was a public notice about it. So Nova Nord, I hope I said that right, LLC is requesting revisions to Ordinance 109, 2022. This was a contract zone that was created for Ware Butler, who is now the former owner of the Sacred Heart Church property. And in our discussions, the property has been sold. That transaction has been completed, as far as we're aware. That's what you were told by somebody who would know. The way the contract zone was written back in 2022, the contract zone is now gone, essentially. It reverts back to its original zoning, which was residential B, is that correct? So it's really us putting a new contract zone on it, which doesn't really matter. We're still going to discuss it.
Wait, so just to clarify, please, the contract zone expired once Ware Butler
Sold the property.
No longer was the owner. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So Ann did provide us copies of the original report that was sent to the city council with our recommendations, and I don't believe they changed them. They didn't deviate from our recommendations in 2022.
No, the conditions, well, that's a good question. I actually didn't compare the two, but I'm 99% certain that's the same.
Yeah,
language.
I'm pretty sure that they did not.
But just for your information, on page 2 of the memo that the planning board wrote to the council back in 2022, on the second page is where the language is that says that the zoning reverts to residential B if Ware Butler sells the property. So it's not something that always happens with a contract zone.
Right.
That language in this particular contract.
Yep, yep. And since the party making the request wasn't able to make it, do you want to give a quick kind of intro of what the request is and why?
Well, his request was just to rezone this particular piece, a particular part of the property.
The office building.
The property includes the former church, a large parking lot that is on Middle Street, and the rectory. And so it's my understanding that currently there is office use in the office building and also in the rectory. He made a presentation this summer, which I didn't see, but I did send you all his PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
He indicated what it was that he wanted to do in the church building last summer, but I haven't heard from him recently as to what he wants to do in the church building. So this particular request for rezoning was just for the office building,
Yep.
but he and I have discussed the fact that he'd like to have all the property in one zone eventually. So right now, we have the property in 2 different contract zones, and the church building itself is in the residential D zone.
Yep.
But not knowing what he really wants to do with the church building at this point, it's probably the easiest thing to do is just at the next meeting. We need to postpone to a date certain so that I don't
Yes, I
have to
have
pay
a
another
note to do that when
legal
we're done.
notice. But the easiest thing to do would be to take a look at this memo that the board wrote back in 2022, see if you have thoughts about any of this, that any of this is an issue for you. Specifically, the conditions of the contract zone are on the first page.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that's most troublesome for him is the last one, which says, if where Butler sells the property, the zoning will revert to the current residential B district. And then the other thing that you have to do with a contract zone is specify which sections of the comprehensive plan that support this rezoning. So typically, when you rezone, if it's not a contract zone, the board just says generally this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. But with a contract zone, you have to specify which sections of the, it's specifically chapter 13 is the policies, and the city has revised the comprehensive plan since you wrote this memo, but the changes in chapter 13 are fairly minor. But I did send you all chapter 13, and it is posted on our city website.
Yep.
So you could read through that, read through the policies and see how having an office in that office building is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So that is what you would need to do for the next meeting, is consider the conditions that you placed on or you recommended the city council place on the property, and reconsider the comprehensive plan. And then hopefully the next meeting, Mr. Godbout will be here and he can give us additional information.
Yep, okay, thank you very much, Ann. Anyone from the public that wants to speak on this tonight?
I did put a legal notice in the paper, and I notified everybody whose property touched that property, or everybody whose property was across the street from it. I also over-notified a little bit. I notified people whose properties touch the parking lot on Middle Street and the rectory on
Okay.
Pleasant Street. So, yeah, people
Yep,
did have a chance to come.
okay, great. Does anyone on the board have anything to comment on this tonight? No? We do need to have a motion to postpone this then until the next meeting on January 27th.
I'll second that.
Great. All those in favor? Well, that's it. Thanks, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Just so that you know, the reason